Hey, this is Quinton Quarisma, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling with Jimmy Street.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is Steve Bowtie Bryant here. Back in the 90s, I was a pro wrestling photographer for the South, and I released what might have been one of the original sets of indie trading cards. I ran across some of these original sets. They were up in Randall Fanning's attic all this time. PG-13 rookie card, Ricky Morton, George Weingroff as the Sheik, Chris Champion, Reno Riggins, Billy Montana, Gary Valiant, the Scorpion, the Medic, Rick Reynolds, Jeff Daniels, Mephisto and Dante, Ben Jordan, Steve Neely, Marcus Woodrow, Quinton Quarisma, Little Farmer John. If you'd like an opportunity to get these cards, contact me now. You can get them for only $49.99. Contact me at Steve Bowtie Bryant at iCloud.com. Get your set now while supplies last.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast, and I'm here as always with the main man, my brother from the same father and mother, my co-host Jared, the Plastic Sheik Street. What's up, Sheik? How you doing?
Pretty good, brother. How about you?
Man, just doing the thing. Ready for this awesome interview. Today we've got Quinton Quarisma on the show. Quinton's an old schooler, man. He's been there, done that. I can't wait to talk to him, man. What's your thoughts on researching Quinton?
Yeah, man, I'm excited to talk to him and see what his, of course, I want to know the Mount Rushmore, and I want to talk to him. I want to talk to him about his his life in the business and how he feels about it and what's inspired him and everything like that. It's going to be a good interview.
Oh yeah, Quinton's great. He's one of those guys that if you don't like him, I don't know what your problem is, because he's just such a nice dude and really just been there, done that, and has a great story. I can't wait to find out more about him for sure. Unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of time with him. A lot of his time was before me, but at the same time, a lot of these guys are like that, so it's kind of tough, like we had the Dante and Great Mephisto on, man. Arvel and Tommy had such a legendary career, man. I just can't help but wish that I got in the business a little bit sooner, because I missed out on a lot of great times with them. But also at the same time, I got to know them in the locker room and stuff. And man, our episode with them is doing great. Kroll's doing great. Jared, I love our top 5 right now. Our top 5 all-time downloads. It's basically this. It's crazy how to say it, but it's Shane Morton. It's Hot Rod Biggs, Greg Gagne. It's Jeff Daniels. It's Dante and Mephisto. It's Kroll. I mean, so many great names. Everybody's saying that they're aiming for Greg. They want to knock Greg out of that top 5. So.
I mean, we're still amazed that Greg was above Magnum in our eyes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild to see that. So it's going to be great to see if he can hold on to that top 5 spot, or if he's going to lose it in these coming interviews we got.
Yeah, and of course, everybody knows our shows are also on YouTube. You can hear the full episode on YouTube. It's kind of like the Cornet. We do an image instead of, we don't do live video, which I'm happy about that as far as editing. Yeah. But when it comes down to it, it's just funny to me because Magnum did a whole lot better on YouTube. Well, he did better than a lot of our shows did on YouTube. But, a lot of these new guys we're having on here that are from my scene that I got to work in, they're really ruling the roost. And, it's kind of veered our show in another direction, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's, not necessarily intended, but it's just what it is. And we're rolling with it.
Yeah, you got to adapt to what the people like to hear, you know.
Absolutely.
And we love our topics. I've said this a million times, and we'll get back to those eventually. But at the same time, man, you know, when it comes down to it, we're having a great time with these interviews. And it just so happens that we have a great one today with Mr. Quinton Quarisma, and you know he's got a great story to tell, and I think we need to hear it. You ready to get him on?
Absolutely. Let's get it rolling.
All right, we'll be right back after these messages.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. And I tell you what, y'all, I've told it before and I've told it again. We're very blessed to have the guest we have today, who's been honestly one of our number one requested guests absolutely through the entire time, Mr. Quinton Quarisma. How you doing today, Quinton?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Man, we're good, brother. We're good. You know, we just happy to have you on here, and I'm sorry we've taken so long with it, but we're glad to have you. It's, you know, just how these things work, right?
Yeah, I'm glad to be on, and I mean, you know, like I said, it a lot more, you know, people did a lot more in the wrestling business than I did coming from me, so, you know, I as long as I got on here, that's fine with me. I don't care, you know, the order, because like I said, I always say I was has been and never was. So those other guys, they deserve to be on her way before I did. So.
Well, I've got a list in front of me of questions that prove otherwise, my friend, but we'll get into that in a minute. Now, we always start every show with the Plastic Sheik's patented Mount Rushmore question. Go ahead and hit him up with that.
I think it's patent pending. I don't think I've received the actual patent on that yet.
We got to get on that. Where's our attorneys?
Yeah. So Quinton, this question, I didn't invent the question, but I always try to ask every wrestler that so that we know kind of what their influences were, where their hearts lie in the wrestling industry. But if you could have an all-time, like Mount Rushmore, top four, or we give a fifth, and I think somebody took a sixth one time, but your top four wrestlers all time.
Okay, I got to ask a question. I'm going to ask you a question then, real fast before we do that. I knew you was going to ask me this, and so I started thinking about it, and I was thinking, for me, I can't really do this without breaking it down, because to me, I have to have one as a fan. Then I have to have one.
Fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I broke it down into
two lists, three lists are great. If you want to do it three ways, that's fine.
This is me. This is my Mount Rushmore when I was growing up as a fan.
Okay.
The first one is Jerry Barber. I know y'all don't have a clue who that is.
No, I know who that is. Yeah, go ahead. I love it.
Okay. Second one, Jerry Lawler.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then Rock and Roll Express.
I love it.
And my last one as a fan growing up, Billy Travis.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
yeah. Very underrated.
When I was a fan, I loved Billy Travis. I actually started doing it later became the Vader Bomb. Billy Travis was the first one I ever seen do one. So when I started working, I started doing the splash, the first splash on the second. Okay, here's my next one. This is the ones I look at as workers.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I got Terry Funk. He reinvented himself so many times.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And Bobby Eaton, don't even have to even say why. Bobby Eaton's on there.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
No explanation necessary with Bobby.
Yeah. Then Harley Race.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Ric Flair, because he did travel the territories and had to work, a week with Rufus R. Jones in Kansas City, and made, at the time Rufus was in his 50s and made people leave. So
yeah,
he did the territory. So
yeah,
Ric Flair's there. And my last one, I think, is the best. I could have a big man on there. So I think the best big man Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
incredible.
Beast from the East.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, his stuff in Japan was just amazing.
Doing cartwheels, and,
Yeah.
The agility he showed as a big man is
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw him do stuff. I was like, what? It was like,
yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
And especially at his time period, I mean, you have big men doing a lot of stuff nowadays, but at his time period, there was nobody doing stuff, big men stuff.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right.
Yeah, that's why I put him on the big, I was like, oh, he don't believe it. But to me, you have to have a big man, and he was the best, I think.
Oh, I totally agree. Now, okay, while we're talking about this, and you just said his name earlier there, Jerry Barber worked in Goulas Promotion. Give Jerry his flowers real quick. Tell the people about Jerry Barber.
Okay, Jerry Barber, he was called the Tennessee Gentleman. Mm-hmm. He worked for, I think he started out over in West Tennessee, working, the independent outlaws, and I think he might have did some of the outlaw Paducah stuff, but then he went into Goulas early 70s. Yeah. And was a Goulas mainstay, basically until, Goulas shut down. Did a lot of tags with George. I think him and George, and I can't remember who the other one was. I think they held that world six man that Goulas had there for a while.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Jerry, he was consistent. Stayed with Goulas. I don't think he might have went, maybe to Alabama some or something. But I think his main thing was with Goulas. I don't think he really ventured out.
Yeah.
He was just mainstays with Goulas.
Man, well, one of our favorite guests of all time, the Dante and Mephisto episode, Mephisto, Arvel Hutto, he was a Goulas mainstay as well. So we love some Goulas. We love Arvel. We love anything to do with that company. We couldn't get them to comment too much on the George Goulas statement of Daddy said sail, but they did giggle a little. We'll just say that. I don't know.
I'm going to give you the third one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's sure. Local. This is my local Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Okay. First one's Tommy Higgy.
Oh, man. Love him.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Jordan.
Oh, God. Love him.
Chris Michaels.
Great. Love him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tracy Smothers.
No, love him too. Yeah.
And good old Tony Falk.
Oh, from Paducah, Kentucky. It's a shoot, Pally.
I go run the stadium in, that building shift. He makes me buy the toilet papers every week. Kayla run around. I can't watch Kayla LT over there. He's in the stairwell doing who knows what. I got old Crow. He's over here videotaping. He can't watch it. He got his job. I'm sorry.
Hey man, you're boys, man. You gotta love Tony. Tony Falk is one of my favorite. He's on my Mount Rushmore of people. You know what I mean? So I love some Tony. You know what's funny is the Wolfie D. We've got the Wild Boys coming up next week on the show. We're actually interviewing them tomorrow, so I'm excited to get Steve and Ben on the show. As I was doing my research on Ben, I was like, holy crap, this guy's done everything and worked everyone, literally. Like I mean, just the list of his accomplishments are ridiculous,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing. I'm excited for that interview. And what's cool, man, is you just named some of the greatest dudes, man. They're really great guys. So no question on that. Well, I'm going to get back. Is that all your Mount Rushmores, brother? You got us.
Hey, keep going, man.
Do you have a Mount Rushmore of Mount Rushmores? So that's awesome. Well, I tell you what, we've talked all about those guys, and we could talk a whole show about them because, Quinton, I know that one thing about you is that you are a historian, and you are a true dyed-in-the-blood historian. But I want to talk about Quinton. So while we start with that, Quinton, tell us about your younger days. Where were you born? Where'd you go to high school? Stuff like that.
I'm from Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
All right. And then where'd you go to high school?
Mount Juliet High School.
Mount Juliet. I love it. Now, in high school, did you play any sports, do anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Grades were so bad. My grades were too bad.
Hey, man, you're honest. Okay, so at that point, you're an athlete. You became a wrestler, man. When did you start liking wrestling?
Oh, gosh. Far back, furthest back memory was, watching. I barely remember watching the Goulas here in Nashville at the dying days. I barely remember that. And then he went away, and then we got the Jarrett promotion, took over the time slot in the early 80s, and just watched that. And then cable come along, and, so about 8 years old, about far back I can remember, like watching wrestling, and my older brother.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, okay. All right. So I'm going to step away from wrestling real quick because, I'm wearing a T-shirt that tells my fandom right now. But rumor has it that you are a massive baseball fan. And here's why. I know that you're a baseball fan. I know you love the sport of baseball because you're a Cincinnati Reds fan. Is that true?
Yes, I'm a Reds fan, but they're not my favorite. My answers are kind of long. You mean explain the situation we're on?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a doctor. I'm like baseball far back as I can remember. As a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. And my favorite team was the LA Dodgers.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay. I know. Because they were, they were late 70s. They would get the World Series. They'd lose. So I bet.
Yeah.
And so I like the Dodgers. And so and then. Back then, American League, National League never played. So I was like, I started watching it and just really, following it in the newspapers and everything. So I was like, I'm going to get me my favorite American League team.
Okay.
And so I was at Opryland, if people knows what that is. Yeah. And they had I was probably 11 maybe. They had you had 3 pitches. You guess to be the last one. You win a helmet.
Yeah, okay.
And so I guess my right speed on my last one, and I had to choose a helmet, and I was looking like, okay, I can get in the American League team. I was looking, and they had like Boston, in like 2. The selection was horrible. I picked Boston, and then I got home and said, well, I guess I got my American League team. So now the way the Reds come about, growing up in Nashville,
which Nashville was a Reds town, right? Exactly.
And so we had. We got every Reds game locally on Channel 17 in Nashville growing up.
Okay.
All the way up, I want to say early 90s. Then it switched over to Channel 30.
Yeah.
But we had Reds games all my life up until MLB basically took away all local, and went to cable. We had to,
Yeah.
So that's why, and so I watched the Reds games every night.
Okay.
So I became a Reds. That's just a long-winded answer, but.
I know.
Yeah, and being a Reds fan, it's hard.
Well, my brother and I, we both are. Our dad is, our grandfather was. I mean, we've had a long line of, we say we bleed Cincinnati Red, but what's funny is my joke on that is that we have to be huge fans of baseball to love the Reds. It's like,
true.
because you're not watching for them to win necessarily. In fact, I think I've only seen them win one game my whole time of going to watch them in Cincinnati, and Jared's record's not much better. So
mine's a little better, but it's not much. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's mainly because of his good luck charm daughter, my niece Paisley. But, she was actually on the big monitor.
On the Jumbotron, yeah.
The Jumbotron. But anyway, so the Reds, we love them and have always been big fans of them. Now, I know you kind of said the Dodgers. I respect that. My dad would hate that, but I hate the I hate the Cubs and the Cardinals now because they're in the Central Division with the Reds. But so I don't want to stick too much on baseball, but do you have any favorite Reds players or just a favorite baseball player?
Growing up, my favorite Red was Eddie Milner.
Oh, nice. Deep cut.
Wow. Deep cut.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
He was my favorite growing up.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Well, I respect that. I love Eddie Milner too. So I was an Eric Davis kid and then Barry Larkin. And then, I've developed into other, but we're looking pretty good. We've got the AAA team burning it up. So we've brought them up. It looks like this year, maybe the Reds will do a little something later in the year, but on to wrestling. What's that? Or just trade them off. Yeah.
Or just lose them all in free agency. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true.
Let's get back to wrestling a little bit. So did I hear somewhere that you were, with your start in wrestling, you were trained by Mark Gordy and then Chris Champion? Is that right? Or
No.
I'm getting that wrong.
Y'all want the true story?
Absolutely. We want the true story. Yeah.
Straight with you. Me and Mark Gordy grew up together in Mount Juliet. Went to junior high school. He come across this guy one time. I don't know. This is like 91. Me and Mark grew up. We went to wrestling. Both of us wanted to be wrestlers and everything. And based on place you could get trained around here that time was Jarrett's school, and it was just too much money. So we was trying to find an inn somewhere. He stumbled across this guy who he lived in Hartsville, Tennessee, and wrestled in Hartsville, Tennessee. And Mark started talking to him and everything. And okay, I know I'm going way back. My answers are going to be long and all over the place. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay, back in '89, was at the sports arena in the program. They had a thing that said wrestling tryouts, and you had a number. So Mark called it. It was Dutch Bantel. You had to pay. Everything was like either $300 or $500.
Yeah.
And it was a tryout. So we thought I didn't have no money. Like I said, we were in high school.
Right.
And I barely had enough money to put gas in my car. So Mark got some money saved up. So he did it. So I took him out. We went out there, and so we get there, and Dutch is there. There's like 3 other guys out for the sports arena. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, we're going to go in here, get in the room. He's going to let me watch this. And Dutch is like, "You're not doing this?" I said, "No." He said, "You have to leave." I was like, "Oh, piss." So I was like, all right. So I drove around the fairgrounds over back towards that little building that's got where it's open air, just got a roof inside. So I pulled over there. So I was thinking, I'm watching going to the sports arena. Next thing I know, they're walking around the side. And I was like, what are they doing? So I sat there and I'm watching. So I go on and drive all the way around those outdoor sheds and come in the back side. So I'm watching for 2 hours. He made them run. Just run. And then he made them do some, got them on the on the bottom of the light poles and was doing like calf raises and stuff for like 2 hours straight.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So finally Mark come back. He's ever done it. Mark come on and goes, I said, "Y'all never got in the ring?" He said, "No." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, he told me and this other guy," he said, "We could come and train." He told the other guy, don't come back. He don't have it. I said, "Well, when do you start training?" He said, "I got to pay another $500 and it's $100 a week." I was like, whoa. And Mark's like, "I ain't got no more money." So that kind of killed that. So like I said, so we started looking for other ways in. You're getting back to like 2 years later, Mark comes across this guy and he starts talking about wrestling. And he said, Mark said, "I trained with Dutch Bantel." Which technically, I guess he did 1 day of training, I guess.
Sure, yeah. That counts for something. Especially the money spent. Go ahead.
The guy was like, "Well, come on up to Hartsville Saturday night, and if y'all looking for work," we're like, and Mark's like, yeah. So Mark calls me, gives this big spiel. He's like, "We can do this, man." I was like, I can see, I'm backtracking again, long-winded.
Love it.
We used to go to the fairgrounds. Basically, after I started driving, after I turned 16, we would stay. And that's let everybody out. We'd go to the back behind the building where all the hills park. And we'd wait till everybody left. We'd go back in the doors because they didn't lock the doors. They had a security guy come around like at 11:30, 12 o'clock and locked up all the buildings and the gate. The gate that goes down back down the hill back where that White Trash Cafe used to be. So he locked that gate and he locked the sports room. So we figured that out. So we started sneaking back in and we would get in the ring and wrestle.
That's amazing.
Oh, no, it's crazy. And then we had another guy went to high school with Eddie Leonard and Brad Northcutt. They started coming. So we, at the matches every week, we'd get in the ring and wrestle.
That's amazing.
And
sure.
So fast forward again. So Mark's like, "We can do this, man." We did, we know what we're doing. I was like, this is the only chance we're going to get. I'll go with it. So we go to Hartsville. We go out to Hartsville. He comes to the door and he has to see this guy, the guy he met. He come out and he started talking to us. He said, "Hold on a second." He brings out the booker. The guy booking was named Donnie Fargo, and it's not the original Donnie Fargo.
Okay.
This is a totally different guy. This guy was out of out of Kentucky somewhere, eastern Kentucky, I think.
No Nazi symbols on the wall, no tattoos on the face. This is not Donnie Falk. Okay.
Not no piercing below the belt. So he's like, he goes, says, where y'all working? So we haven't worked yet. And I told Mark, I said, I'm going to let you do all the talking. I ain't saying the word.
Sure.
And Mark goes, we said, we haven't started yet. And he goes, we haven't started. So who trained you? He goes, I was trained by Dutch Mantel. And he's like, I said, really? I said, yeah. And he said, that's fairgrounds.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's like, all right, come on in, guys.
That's all I needed to hear.
And I'm like, is it this easy? I'm like, I wouldn't have this long time ago, So he's like, what's your names? And Mark told him his name, and I was like, what's your name? I was like, I had no clue. I gave him my shoot name.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And so we're sitting there, and he's like, y'all guys want to hang out? Well, he said, you got to next week. Y'all want to we'll book you for next week. We're like, okay. So y'all guys can hang out and watch the show. So we watch, and it's low level, real low level.
Right.
And I mean, I guess you've realized it because they just told us, come on in. So I mean,
sure. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sitting there, and they do intermission, and they plug me and Mark coming next week. And I'm like, I've never had a match before in my life where we're getting plugged. So I'm like, we go, we leave, right? So we're driving back to Mount Juliet. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, dude, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? He's like, I guess we're going to be wrestling next week. We're wrestling.
Man.
And he's like, well, we got, he had some spandex biker shorts. Because back then, late 80s, early 90s, everybody,
you could get
spandex biker shorts before they hit wrestling. That was the big thing. Just go to any gym. Everybody, so you could go get those at Walmart anywhere. So I think I went to Kmart and got me a pair. And so he had a pair. So I was like, we don't have no boots. I said, it's like, man, we don't have the money to buy no wrestling boots, I mean, at that time, you could get from Bill Ash for, like $150 from Bill Ash at that time.
Okay.
But, 91, we're just out of high school. We still ain't got no money,
No, there ain't no K&H happening right now, right? This is
no. So he gets on, he starts, it's pre-internet, everything is newspaper, phone book. He gets to starts calling sporting goods stores.
Mm.
And that, if you're from Nashville, the biggest thing in Nashville was Walter Nipper's Sporting Goods on 8th Avenue.
Okay, yeah, I know where that. Yeah.
Everything they did, youth sports, high school sports, any kind of equipment, baseball, football, basketball, any kind of sport, any school played, they had bukus of it. Yeah. So Mark called him and asked him, do y'all have any wrestling boots? And the guy's like, no, we have wrestling shoes. We have some boxing boots.
Oh, okay.
And Mark's like, okay, how much are they? And he said it was like $39.99, whatever it's like. And he said they're, oh crap, what's that? Everlast.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like, so he calls me back. He calls me and said, man, I got us some boots. I said, how much? He said, like $39.99, $40, whatever. I said, oh, really? So, because it's Walter Nipper's downtown. I was like, okay, I'm off Thursday. I get paid Thursday. We'll go down and get them.
Yeah.
So we go down there, and if you ever look, they're Muhammad Ali boots. They were white. They were white with the red and blue, and they had a little circle Everlast emblem on the side, the Muhammad Ali edition, because that's what we got. So the next week, we go up to Hartsville, and they book us in a match.
Wow.
And it was on from there.
Man.
What a start, man.
Now, that is a start, dude. That is awesome. Now, what would you do if you were the guy at the door and a young Quinton Quarisma came up now? What would you be like?
I would tell him to either pay $6 or leave.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
But, I look back, I mean, it was wrong. But if they would have said no and told us to buy a ticket or leave, I probably would have bought a ticket and watched. And then left.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
They opened the door. I mean, what was I supposed to do? I mean,
yeah, exactly. When a door is opened, you got to go through it. So
it was most of level, but they let us in, so we went in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was like, we did that for like 3 months. Mark he got in touch with a guy named Sammy Manier. He was a promoter. He promoted a lot in South Tennessee.
Yeah.
So Mark called him and talked to him, and they were running a show in Fairview, Tennessee. This was in January. He said, come down, talk to my booker, Chris Champion. So we went down, talked to Chris.
Okay.
They booked it. So I consider that January 92 my first real match.
Okay.
It was with guys that,
knew what's up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, talk about that, because I'm a huge fan of Chris Champion. I think anybody who wrestles, Chris is, Chris, Tony, Chris Michaels, like all these guys, they're kind of like Wolfie, Jamie, these guys, not the Lawlers and the Dundees. I respect all of them, but they're kind of another level. What I mean is, like, there's kind of the local guys that are the dudes. They're the guys that you care about them. Tracy was one, but talk about that. You talk to Chris Champion, keep going.
So he's like, there's no money, guys. We got a full card, but Sammy was wanting to take a look at you, wanted me to take a look at you. So he put me in a singles match and put Mark in a tag match. I can't really remember who Mark worked. I worked Gary Scott. At the time, he was
golly. Okay, yeah, wow. How was that?
Okay, so I'm in this dressing room, and there's, Chris Champion, George Weingroff.
Oh my God! Yeah. Shooters.
It was guys I've seen on TV. I'm like, oh man, I was just like in awe. So Gary comes over and he. Told me I've only had a few matches, and he said, okay, we'll just keep it simple, blah, blah, blah. We'll go there. Now, it was a decent little match. This is where it got weird. So we did the thing. We did the finish. Gary goes over, and all of a sudden, George Weingroff slides and hits the ring.
Okay.
And I don't know what's going on. So he hits Gary, and I'm getting up my feet around, and I'm not feeding around because I know to feed around. I get up to look at what the crap's going on. And he didn't think, I guess he didn't know I was turning around, so he went to hit me, and I turned right at the same time, right in the face. Bang!
Oh, man.
Just knocked the stuffing out of me. And I went down, I rolled out, I got out of there. And the whole time walking from the ring, this was at a high school, Fairview High School, and it was packed. Both sides of the bleachers full.
Yeah.
So I'm freaking out, and all the way and we had dressed on the other side of the school. It was crazy. But anyway, so I'm walking back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they know I haven't been trained. And I've heard stories about George being a shooter. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to kill me. He hit the ring because they found out about me and Mark. I just kept saying to myself, right?
Yeah, so, I've been found out.
Yeah, so I'm walking back, and I'll go in the water. There's a water fountain. I'm blowed up. I'm just sucking in water, trying to get my face, because my face is numb, or I just got blasted. I look over, here comes George and Herbie walking by, Herbie, his brother. And I see him, he motions for me, like, get over here. I was like, well, here it goes. I'm fixing to get beat up.
Yeah.
So I walked down this little hallway, I turned the corner, and as soon as I turned the corner, him and Herbie were standing there, and he grabs my hand and goes, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to stiff you. I didn't know what stiff meant at the time. Yeah. And he said that Chris has come up with the idea to set up for me and him the main event, to run in. He makes the save. He said, I was going to hit you from behind. You turned around. You didn't know I was coming. He said, it was an accident. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was like, oh, it's fine. No, you're fine. I'm sitting there, my mouth's numb.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, I'll take that any day.
Yeah, seriously. Oh.
So so after that, I got back dressing. I was like, man, I guess I'm in. And then at the end of the night, Sammy come up to us. He said, guys, I heard you there's no money. He said, but we're going to start. We got some towns coming up. We got Lewisburg coming up next month. Chris said that if y'all want to work, we'll book you. So we started getting booked for Sammy Manier and Chris Champion after that, and it just kept going. I'm gonna fast forward just a little bit.
Yeah.
A couple months after that, Chris was like, he brought us in to Shelbyville, and then he's like, yeah, guys, come up on Tuesdays and we work out and everything, training and everything. Y'all come on up. So we went to a few ones, and then I want to say it was around end of August, maybe for September. He was like, or maybe October. It was somewhere in the fall night. He said, man, y'all guys, I like y'all, but y'all, you can tell y'all need training. He's like, whatever y'all did, it wasn't enough. So I can still use you, but, I can't do nothing with, if you want to advance on the card and start getting paid, he said, you got to get better.
Yeah.
So I started going to, me and Mark had a falling out. I don't want to get into that because that's 30 years ago, 35 years, whatever. We had a falling out. So he just stopped going. So I kept going to training. I go to training, and and then I started getting trained, properly, and which I was already advanced because I've been working. I was actually started working, decent people and stuff. So so that's why I tell everybody I got trained by Chris Champion because I really did. But
yeah.
So
that's awesome.
I have one answer for it took 30 minutes.
That's all right.
No, that's a very good answer. I like that. That's awesome. Now, what year roughly was that?
When we went to Hartsville was November of 91, and the fall of 92 is when I started training with Chris every week.
Okay. Now, talk about your progression after that. You're continuously working, obviously, but you're also getting a little more seasoning. Now, where did you go to get that seasoning, or did you just stick around with Chris and keep going with him?
Like I said, Chris, he was booking Lewisburg on Saturdays and for Sammy Manier, and then he actually took over. Sammy stopped, but Chris, he started promoting and booking it for Saturday. Then he was the booker in Shelbyville on Thursday nights for it was Willie Paul Davis.
Willie Paul. Yeah.
And then Glenn Mullins, because it was his building, he took it over from Willie Paul. They kicked Willie Paul out. Chris stayed on as the booker. So I was working for Chris on Thursday nights and Saturday nights. The Thursday nights was better because it was Saturday nights. I don't know. It's a little different crews. So it was about a half and half the same crew.
Okay.
It seemed like Shelbyville had more of your top end guys. Well, I never got to work them, but it seemed like they were. I guess because Chris wasn't fitting the whole bill. Mm-hmm. Like Lewis, he'd bring in his people, but Shelbyville was really a lot of good talent.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and then you're obviously meeting a lot of the names that you mentioned before on your local, Mount Rushmore, I'd assume, guys like Chris Michaels, Tracy Smothers, all these guys that are so important to the Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky wrestling scene. Now, when did you become Quinton Quarisma?
Okay, that's a funny story. Okay, so I was Mr. Quarisma from Hartsville on. First one, that book, Mark said, I couldn't come with the name. He said, Mr. Quarisma. I said, okay, so I went with that from the time that first match in Hartsville all the way up till, I want to say, January of 93.
Okay.
It was when I was training, and Chris was like, man, you got to come up with a name. He said, Mr. Quarisma, it's not working. It might have been fall of 92. It's either December 92, January 93-ish, right in there.
Yeah.
He said, we could come with a name. And we was sitting in Shoney's, and he's like, what? He's like, I want you to think about these names. He said, you keep the Quarisma. He said, but you got to think of a first name. I said, okay. So the next week when training, Wolfie rode with me down to Shelbyville to the training.
Okay.
Next week. And we were driving back. And it's like, Chris want me to come up with a name, first name. And Wolfie's like, yeah, you need a first name. And he goes, what about Casey Quarisma? I was like, well, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So I took it to Chris Thursday night. He's like, no, that's horrible. I'm like, why did you come up with it? I said, no. He said, you know what? What about Quinton Quarisma? I was like, oh, that's fine. I didn't care. It just got a name.
Yeah.
Me Quinton stuff, and that was it.
And then you modified the spelling of charisma, or were you always doing it that way?
That was him. He said, let's change charisma. He said, because you're doing kind of a flamboyant. He said, I want you to go full gimmick.
Yeah.
Charisma.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm listening to him. Who am I? You know, what he said I did. You know.
Yeah. You know what's so funny is everybody I know and highly respect, Chris Champion came up with their gimmick. It's PG-13. Yeah. He
had a lot of people say, oh, he was lazy, you know, and he didn't like, you know, his work, you know, but his mind for the business was crazy.
Yeah.
The stuff he'd come up with.
Yeah, I saw him in a match recently I was watching that was for Crockett. I think this was after they bought Mid-South. I saw him adjust Rick Steiner's sinuses pretty good with a kick.
That crane kick.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. And you're kicking Steiner.
Gave it back to him.
He sure did. Yeah. I would love to hear that story. Of course, rest in peace, Chris Champion, man. But honestly, what a great guy. I got to meet him one time and just, you know, such a cool guy. And you could just see the people in the locker room. They were just kind of in awe of this dude. I know there's certain people that say there's stuff about him, but we're not getting into that. What I would say about Chris is it seemed like he had this magnetic draw about him that, and you're right, such a mind for the business. I mean, other than the Marvelous Mortons, you know what I mean? Which Shane apparently hated, but you know, again though, Quinton Quarisma, Wolfie D, JCS PG-13, you know, and the Marvelous Mortons, there's just a few that he came up with that all these guys that I highly respect. So
a lot of people don't realize, you know, he got let go from the Jarretts, and you know he was working local independents around.
Yeah,
Ninja Turtles hit the scene.
Oh yeah.
He went and bought the spandex and bought the pattern for the costume.
Right.
And set in his apartment, not machine sewed, hand sewed. Did the whole pattern, cut it out, fabric, cut it out, hand sewed a whole Ninja Turtle suit. And he was the first one. Everybody thinks that Hildebrand, you know, Smoky Mountain did it. No,
right.
Chris Champion did it for Jarrett's, and he said and that got him the job.
Okay.
Because it was, you know, huge over the time. He saw the insight of, hey, this is over, boom. And, you know, there's no telling how much money he made through the years off gimmicks.
Oh, dude. Oh, I'm sure. Massive. Now, let me ask you, since you're a historian, you know, randomly I'll see this on YouTube of a video of two guys working the gimmick in WWE doing the Ninja Turtle deal. Who was that?
One of them was Gilbert.
Was it?
Yeah,
okay.
Was it both of them? Was it Barry Hardy and Dwayne Gill?
Okay, so it was Dwayne and Barry. That makes sense.
Was Dwayne Gill. I think 'cause him and Barry Hardy, if you watch a lot of the early 90s job matches.
Yep, they sure did.
They teamed a lot together, and they were up in that Northeast where they did all those independents together.
Oh yeah,
as a tag team. And I want to say the other one was Barry Hardy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Very probably, yeah.
That's cool. I always wondered if that was Chris, but thank y'all for clearing that up. Yeah.
So before that,
yeah.
Chris was one that, I mean, it just got popular. I mean, it was still really new.
Okay.
And nobody else, and now the wrestling people caught on to, hey, you know. So yeah. And then also, I think, you know, WWF, you know, the big two were, you know, kind of afraid of, you know, licensing and stuff like, you know,
yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where they had the trouble with that was, you know,
of course,
with that. But yeah, Chris was original.
That's awesome. They, you know, get their pantsuit off these days, you know.
You
know. So we kind of jump all over. If we go far, you know, whatever. We just come on with us, man. Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wanting you to tell us and the world about the Hillbilly Hammerlock.
Oh my gosh, man, that's like local folklore, man. And it just, and you know what? I think it's on tape. I think Tim Miner has it on tape somewhere.
Okay, yeah.
He was taping all the shows in Gallatin, Tennessee for Tim Scroat's promotion.
Yeah.
It was a tag match. It was me and my tag partner at the time was Insane Shane.
Yeah.
We were working Mike Jablonski at the time. He was Mike Rage.
Okay.
And Buzzed Up. Buzzy was called the Southern Hillbilly at the time, and they were called Southern Rage. Yeah. And Buzzy had probably been working maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months, maybe. I could be wrong on that, but he was still, new to the business. So we're in there, and so I'm in there working him. It's during the shine, trying to shine him up. Yeah. And I had him in a hammerlock. I gave him the office to reverse it. I feel him going around, and all of a sudden I'm standing there with my arm behind me. I'm like, why is my butt touching his butt? And I kind of look back. We're back to back with hammerlocks on. And I look at Shane, my tag partner. He's lost it. And Troy Eaton, God bless his soul, he was with us. He was managing outside. We had a little three-way tag thing we were doing at the time. I look at he is on the floor dying. He's lost. And I look at Mike. Everybody's laughing except for me and Buzzy. We're like, what do we do? So it's become just a legend around here, the Hillbilly Hammerlock, and we have no idea how we got there.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
That's how the best stuff happens, though, honestly.
Yeah. And I don't think if we tried to do it, because somebody said we should have did this a couple weeks ago at the reunion, and I was thinking, I don't think we could do it if we want to, because we don't know how we got there.
Right. Yeah. And I guarantee that that's somewhere on the list of Jericho's 1004 moves. I'm sure of it, is the Hillbilly Hammerlock. Maybe not. Maybe even Jericho couldn't do it. But anyway. So, okay, I'm going to ask this question because I need you to clear something up for me, man. Can you please tell the world, who is Jay Phoenix, man? I mean, I know guys like, Jeremiah Plunkett. I know, some great guys, but who is Jay Phoenix?
He's this little kid that come around and who hated me because we didn't get off on the right foot. I'll tell you a little fast story. I met him one time in Smyrna for this one show. I was hanging out. I rode up with Mike, just hung out. It was during the time period I was down from when I had my car wreck. Okay. So I just went up, I met him then, and Mike said, "Oh, this kid, he's a good kid, man. He's got a good head on his shoulders." And everything. So, I met him then, no big deal. And then I got back to managing after my car wreck. I came back and I was managing Mike in Columbia. Uh-huh. And so we're standing there talking, and JP comes up and goes, "Hey, is that my music?" And this is the old me. I turned around and I said, "Dude, I don't sit around and beat off your music. I don't know what you come out to." And he looked at me like I was just like the biggest prick known to man. Yeah, I mean, I was like, I don't know, I was bad about just saying whatever come to my mind back then.
Sure.
Yeah, and that was further come to my mind, So he didn't really, I don't think he really cared for me, and then, I don't know, man, we grew to be, he became my best friend in wrestling,
Yeah, he's a great dude. And for the world, it is Jeremiah Plunkett, current NWA star Jeremiah Plunkett, by the way. And the cool thing I love about Plunky is man, he helped me out in a lot of ways. I had a car accident. He would take me to the shows, make sure I got to the shows. I mean, it was just a great dude. I could say a million things about Plunky. I got to manage him, and he and Drew, and, I've told this story before, so I won't go into it, but it was a great time getting to manage them. I wish I was ready to be a manager of that team at that time. But talk about y'all's run together, man. Talk about the times. I mean, because y'all had a great run, especially in the USWO, man. You worked everybody in the company, basically. And now, were you officially called Hanging Tough at the time?
No. Okay, so like I came back in, I had a car wreck in 2004. I came back.
It was 2004, I believe, from my research, what I could see.
I had a car wreck in 2004.
Okay.
I was out until January of 2006.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
January 6th, came back to Columbia. I just just rode down with Mike, Shane Morton, and Shane Morton, I think, was booking it, and I think Rob Biggs just took over the book, or he was about to, or whatever. Somehow Shane was like, "Hey, you want to work?" And I'm like, I just come here to hang out. I said, I can't work physically. I can't. And he said,
Yeah.
you want to manage? Like, well, I'm down here, might as well. So, so I started managing. I did that 06, all through 06. Kroll brought me on at USWO fall of 06. He put me with Mike and JP and the Saint. So I managed all the way up. It was about the May-ish probably of, is it 07? Yeah, it had to be 07. And I was like, I'm ready to get back in the ring. Physically, I'm ready back. And me and him, we was, for the last year, me and him started hanging out a lot, and he's like, when I first started watching wrestling, went to a wrestling show, you were on the first show. And I was in a tag team called Hanging Tough. It was me and this guy named Dieter Brock. Had a little manager named Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
For Brian promotion. So.
Yeah. Okay.
And, we did it, me and Dieter did a year run there as Hanging Tough. And he said, did you want to do Hanging Tough? Me and you. I was like, I already did that, and he's like, man, and I really wanted to team with him because I could tell he had it.
Yeah.
And he
wanted
it, he had it, he wanted it, he needed to learn. I ain't saying I'm nobody, but I think I can give a little bit to people as I've tried over the years. What little bit I know to, pass it on. And I could tell, he's going to do bigger and better things. Hey, I'm going to hop on the coattails because I think this is going to be something. I thought, yeah, let's do it. So it was his idea to bring back Hanging Tough. And
let me say this real quick, Quinton. They actually came out to the New Kids on the Block Hanging Tough song, Jared. This is a legit heat magnet.
That's awesome.
Well, so the original Hanging Tough was, it says, me and this guy named Dieter Brock. His gimmick was he was like a low-budget porn star.
Okay.
Like he did local porn for the Super 8 hotels.
Oh, and, okay.
And the manager's name was Monte Carlo. He did like, I don't want to explain his gimmick.
Kind of like French Playboy kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah,
kind of thing. He had money.
He had the white tux with the black inlay. Yeah. I remember Monte. Yeah.
So so Brian Dieter, he was doing Dieter's thing. He knew, and Brian Cheatham, who owned the promotion, he was booked. He knew that Dieter needs somebody to follow. He had potential, but he needs somebody to show him when to do it, why to do it, how to do it.
Sure.
Cheatham put us together. Monty was already managing Dieter, and I was doing the CC/flamboyant, whatever you want to call it. I did it all those years.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. So, and I'm 99.9% sure Monte Carlo's the one that come up with this. Because he said, the Dieter Brock is hanging and the Quinton Quarisma is tough, And
it's a good Monte Carlo, actually. Yeah.
And he said, and he come up with it. He told us to use the music. So I'm giving that all to Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
Because I'm 100% sure it was his thing. Usually I come up with stuff, but on that, that was him. Yeah. So fast forward to me and JP, we did the whole thing. I was toned down by then. I was just more flamboyant. And he wanted to use the music and everything, so we went on with it. And, I looked it up. We were tied for second for the most title reigns in USWO history.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah,
we're
that's very cool.
I think we're tied with Ryder. Is it
okay?
Ryder and Andrews, maybe.
Okay.
Or is it Ryder and somebody else? I can't remember. We're second. I didn't realize how many times I know we have it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a year and a half we was top. We were there.
Listen to these names that they worked, Jared. Chuck Taylor, LT Falk, Bill and Jamie Dundee, Kid Cash, Madman Pondo. I mean, those are just names. I mean, that's a promotion right there. But at the same time, then they're also working like White Tiger, Damien. I mean, they're doing so many great matches. And you're right. It's consistently a great run too, man. Such a fun fun gimmick and such a fun team. I'm a huge fan of the USWO. I never got to work the Stadium Inn. I'm sad about that, but I did get to work the Millersville version for a little bit there. But yeah, man, you're naming some great names here. Now, I guess, with that being said, while you were working at the USWO, did you ever go into one of the rooms at the Stadium Inn?
No. That is, I know stuff happened. That was more on the World of Shields end.
Yeah, sure. I got you.
Yeah,
I understand.
But everybody puts down Stadium Inn. It's crack house, whorehouse, whatever.
All that is true.
I love that place.
Yeah, man, it was great, dude.
I've wrestled in barns before.
Sure.
And sheds. I've wrestled in sheds outside, but that crack house, I don't care what anybody says, it had an atmosphere.
Absolutely.
It was made that, I know that building was 60 years old by the time wrestling got in it. That little ballroom there, banquet room there was made for wrestling.
It was, man.
It was low ceiling, but man, perfect setup. People,
great lighting. Yeah.
Your clothes crammed in there. There was something. I hate to say this word. People are like, oh, you only had 150 people at the most there, but man, there was a lot of magic in that little room.
It was, and as a fan going there, it was a lot of fun for sure for the fans.
But would you rather have 150 fans all into it than 10,000 on Monday Night Raw or Dynamite or whatever AEW that are just kind of sitting on their hands? I mean, like, I'd rather have 150 that are into it any day.
Yeah,
if you're working. Well, I don't know, because your paycheck's going to be different.
Well, but for the love of it, I guess.
But for the actual love of the business, you can get 150 people just going bonkers.
Yeah.
And, you have a big arena where they're just sitting there, yeah.
They're just dead. It's just dead sometimes.
Yeah. And that you hate because nowadays they don't care, but because they're in there just to pop themselves. But
sure.
Back in the day, you're busting your butt to get those people into it, and they're sitting on their hands. There's no worse feeling than that.
Right, it's brutal. The quiet is horrible.
Hey everyone, this is Shane from Insane Shane's World. I release wrestling figures of enhancement talent, mid-card wrestlers, and wrestlers that you never thought would have a figure available. So if you are interested in adding a really cool and rare figure to your collection, then don't hesitate to contact me at shamtheman73@gmail.com. That's SHAMtheman73@gmail.com. You can also join my Facebook group. Just search Insane Shane's World.
This is the Big Picture, Michael Jablonski. Don't forget to tune in every week to Jablonski's Pissed Off on the Mike Jablonski's Pissed Off YouTube channel.
The Foxtrot in the sport, he's gonna tell you all about it. He doesn't care what you think, you're gonna hear all about it. Mike Jablonski, he's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski, he's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski, he's so pissed off. He's pissed off.
So a lot of people could go their whole life without this, but it looks like did I see that you had broken your nose twice in 2 weeks?
Yes, that's true.
Tell us about that.
Okay, this is hanging of me and Plunkett. We were working. This is working Friday night, Stadium Inn. We were working. Oh gosh, the Saint and who was his partner? Josh Crow. I think it was Josh Crow. So boom, we're having a match. I think the heat was on Josh Crow. They doubled him and Crow and JP do double down. Hot tag comes. I come in. I feed in. Hot tag Saint. He comes in. I come to feed in. Just four barrels me right in the nose with a fist.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just lays me out. And I take a bump and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, there goes my nose. And I've only back up a little bit. This is like in the second month of coming back actually wrestling from my layoff. Like the first week, the second or third week in USWO from my layoff, I got Jason X, cousin Jason, did a European uppercut on me and hit me on my jaw so hard, my bottom teeth went in my tongue, my top teeth went in my tongue and met.
Oh.
So then a month later, we're in the back of Stadium Inn, boom, I just get cracked, nose broke. I'm like, and I stayed in for a clothesline, and he comes with a straight punch. I mean, straight jab, right? And I was like, so the finish was hitting him with a spray can. I dented that spray can on his head. I'm like, here's your receipt, buddy. I usually give people at least 2, but that was, I mean, you mess up that. Somebody, I'm feeding in, giving you my body on a hot tag. I'm coming in, and you just punch me punch to the face. God. So I dented the can on his head.
That's
so 2 weeks. So we were working. We were doing Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. Thursday was Shelbyville. Friday was Nashville. Saturday was rotating. They did Columbia and Petersburg. So we were in Columbia that night. We were working Shane Morton and Devin Domain.
Yeah.
And this was a freak accident. Now this one, so I do some shit. I go down to cover him, and I went to hook the leg, and he went to kick out. When I turned to hook the leg, bam, knee right in the nose. Blood everywhere. And JP said I got up just cussing, was just going off.
I can't imagine the pain.
At the back, I was like, I'm done. It's 2 weeks in a row. I'm done with it. I'm not wrestling anymore. I'm going back to manage. Yeah. The first one was because the guy that, wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. Second one was just a freak accident,
Yeah.
But it happened within 2 weeks.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. There's a movie, I can't remember what it is, but where a nose keeps getting broken. I can't remember. I'm not placing it.
What is that? Oh, man.
Yeah. But anyway, it's just so funny. But I can't imagine the pain you were in, brother. I just can't imagine that.
It sucked.
Yeah.
The second one was worse because it was still so tender from the first one.
Oh, I know.
So that would hurt even worse.
Oh, my God. I can't imagine. Okay. So in just a little bit, we're going to play a thing we like to call the name game here. But before we get to that, while we're still talking about the USWO time frame and stuff, tell me the story about you firing Jerry Lynn.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, man. Yeah, I get worried about this all the time. All right. So this was 97. 97, I'm sorry. 07. Sorry. I said 97. 07. Kroll had left and went over to Millersville.
Right, with Reno. Yeah.
Right before that, Kroll told Tony he's giving me the book. Tony didn't want to go full book with me doing the booking, which I was fine with that. So sure. Tony's like, I'm going to let you do some of the book, and I do the rest. So he was, so we were on it, he started booking. This is later on after I had actually, my part was taken back away from me. But no big deal. Nothing, it's just part of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there one night, and LT comes up to me, goes, just talk to Dad. He said, he needs you to fire Jerry tonight. I said, excuse me? He said, my dad wants you to go, we got to let Jerry go. We just can't afford him. Just tell him that, we're sorry. We just can't afford him. But he wants you to tell him. I'm like, okay, I had nothing to do with the book anymore, but you want me to do the dirty work. And I was like, you know what? I'm a team player. Might as well do it. Yeah. So I was like, I told JP about it. I said, what am I going to do? He said, you got to do it. So I was like, oh. So they were, the JP, I think JC Crow, maybe Mike Jablonski, I think they were new. There's a little group of us knew it was happening. So they were all watching. Yeah. So Jerry comes in and he goes around, shakes everybody's hand, and he goes around and sits his back down. He sits in his chair. I'm like, well, I better get do it now before he gets dressed because he'd really be mad.
Really? That'll be horrible. Yeah.
So I go over to him. I said, hey, I'm the messenger. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot on me. I said, I'm just relaying the message. Tony wanted me to tell you tonight you're finishing up. He said he just can't afford you anymore. And Jerry's like, you're kidding. I said, no. He's like, man, I've given them a great deal, basically half price. I said, I know. I have nothing to do with it. I'm just relaying them. He said, I know. It's nothing to do. I said, I know. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't want to do it. I said, but I had to do it. And he's like, I understand it's nothing against you. I said, good. I just want to make sure there's nothing to do with me. I'm one of the, I'm in line with everybody else. I have no control of nothing. I'm just taking one, helping the team out. He started laughing. I understand, man. So yeah. So ever since then, JP has never let me. He's like, how can you fire Jerry Lynn?
Yeah, first of all, the talent, and then second of all, he's consistently one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
Yeah, yeah, he's so nice. It's like, how can you fire the nicest guy, Jerry Lynn? I'm like, shut up, man.
Yeah.
He's always doing me like that.
Dude, wow. So you've got that notch under your belt, whether you like it or not, Quinton Quarisma. That's hilarious. Yeah. So, man. All right. Well, next up, we've got one of my favorite parts of the show is we do a little thing called the name game, Mr. Quinton Quarisma. Would you play the name game?
Sure. Why not?
All right. Well, the first one I want to start off with is Mr. Scorpion, the Pete Cannon.
Oh, man. You'll get me crying. When I was working for Chris Champion, making $5,
yeah,
wasn't going nowhere, and Pete come up to me one night in the dressing room and said, do you want to come to Nashville for Power Slam Wrestling? Terry Rice. He was the booker for Terry Rice. And I was like, yes, most definitely. And he brought me to Nashville, and that's when I started working really, good, talented guys. And, he kept me low card, mid card. I wasn't nobody to push, but he gave me enough of a little bit of push and got me to where I was working better talent to learn. I think the world of Pete. If it weren't for him, I don't, so he's forever in my heart, man,
Yeah.
And, so I was working around that Power Slam crew, which got me booked in Columbia with Tommy Higgy. Tommy Higgy seen me and said, hey, you want to come to Columbia? Other than that, so Pete Cannon got me going, really. I would have been stuck working for Christian Freud forever, making $5-10, working the same old people.
Yeah.
I probably would have been fine with it, but, if it weren't for Pete Cannon, I owe Pete Cannon a lot.
Yeah.
I owe him a lot.
Yeah.
You mentioned him earlier, but how about friend of the show, Mike Jablonski?
Oh, Mike. It's a funny story. I've known Mike basically all his life. His mom and my mom were really good friends. I saw Mike around he was born, time he was born, probably maybe 2 years old, 3 years old. We lived in the same neighborhood. Then we moved out, kind of grew apart. I'd see him out, around Mount Juliet Hermitage area, through the years. And then one, I was at my mom's house, and his mom and dad was over at my mom's. And she goes, you wrestle? And I said, yeah. She goes, my son wrestles, Mike. I said, really? She goes, yeah, he went by Mike Steele. And I was like, I'm sorry, I've never heard of him. I said, well, if he's around here, I'll probably run across him one of these days. It went maybe 6 months later, ran across him, and Mike was horrible. He'll tell you he was horrible. He was working in Gallatin, or, it's like all, your lower indies, you have a couple of decent guys, a couple of old timers just did a little something. I ran across him. I knew he had heart because Lord knows he was spending $1 million in gear.
Right.
And
Still does.
He looked good, and, when he put his gear on, he looked good until he got through the ropes. So I tried to talk to him when I said, what do you want out of this? I said, what did you think was going to happen? I put him aside. We went over behind this little curtain thing in the dressing room, and Gallatin, Tennessee. And I said, what? Because so I said, I knew his family, knew his mom, love his mom to death. And I could see him, he's up there just struggling, putting effort, but just, 2 left feet, 2 right feet, what do you want to call it? And I said, what do you want? He's like, and I said, what did you expect when you got into this? What did you expect to get?
Yeah.
Did you expect to be 2 years still up here, which I'm here now, but, I'm here because I don't like driving. It was 15 minutes from my house.
Right.
I said, what do you, and he's like, well, when I first got in, I figured Vince McMahon would call me 6 months after I got in. I said, I'm not trying to be a butt to you or I said, but you're never getting that call.
Yeah.
I said, now, if you want to do more than Gallatin, I said, you have to get better.
Yeah.
I said, right now, you don't have a right foot and a left foot.
Yeah.
I said, you have to get mobile. I said, I told him, I said, what you need to do, you got a basketball goal? Yeah. I said, just go out and start dribbling, just get movement, some kind of, where you're back and, just not just flat footed. I said, you got to get mobile. And he's like, okay. And then a couple of times I told Scruggs, I said, put me and Mike together. And he put us together. And, I helped him. We teamed for like a year.
Yeah.
And, I helped him much as I could. And if you could have seen him then to now, it's like a totally different person.
Yeah. That's awesome.
He just needed somebody to help him along,
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Good old Mike. We like Mike on here. Sometimes he's pissed off, but we like old Mike. So,
old brother to me.
Yeah. So my next one is, you mentioned him earlier, and that's a great story, but maybe if you have anything else about Mr. George Weingroff, one of my favorite guys.
Oh, man. He's George. I mean, I come from the, legendary wrestling family, Sal Weingroff.
Yeah.
And what, good, I kind of get back a little bit about when you get about George, I said I got going to Columbia. I started riding with every other Saturday in Columbia. I would ride with Dale Storm. I'd meet him in Nashville, and we'd drive and pick up George.
Uh-huh.
And I would ride back and forth, every other Saturday in a car with George Weingroff. That was a learning experience. Just listen to stories and listen to stuff. And, and to this day, I've been always not scared of George, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Respectful.
Just respectful. And just, I've very rarely ever come up and start a conversation with him. I put him up high in just so much knowledge, and he would tell you something. If he saw something wrong, he would come and tell you how to do it different.
Right.
And when he told you, you listened. I mean,
absolutely.
But he comes from he was that old school mentality. Everybody respected him because he was a legit shooter, but he wasn't a bully.
Right.
Now you get in there and you make him mad or something and do something and disrespect him, he would sugar you and argue.
Yeah.
But he never. Everybody knew he was a shooter, but the way he presented himself as a professional, you didn't know because he would never bring it up.
Yeah.
He was just very professional.
Great dude.
Yeah.
And a great friend of the podcast too. He's helped us get some great shows out of it. So anyway, look forward to continuing that friendship as well.
How about White Tiger?
White Tiger. That's Damian Payne's little brother.
Dewey Barnes or whatever on TNA.
Yeah, he started working with Dewey Barnes. He was White Tiger when he first started. He worked for Tony a little bit. I think maybe 1 or 2 matches. He was a green kid then. He actually worked as a tag team for a few weeks in 2009 in Smyrna or Laverne, wherever it was, for a few weeks. We were about a month. We were a little tag team. He was so green then. So it was kind of, but at that time he listened.
Yeah.
He was very respectful, So I never had any interactions after that, but after 2009 till he got really established as Dewey Barnes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
he was some of those guys that would go to work for TNA and work in their shipping department or their DVD department or merchandise department. A lot of the guys that we know from the scene have done that. And and that got him an opportunity with TNA where he's actually had a little kind of like the James Ellsworth gimmick before the James Ellsworth,
Pretty much, yeah.
So my next question, and this gentleman, I met him at the same time that I met you, and Plunky introduced me to both of you, Mr. J.C. Crow.
Oh, it's my little brother. I love JC. He's such a good dude.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot about him. I just knew of him, and he started coming. Started working a lot of shows with him. He started working for Tony, and I'm pretty sure it was JP's idea to bring him in the mix because they really wasn't doing nothing with him. It used to be he was basically just there, and I'm 90% sure it's JP's idea to bring him in the mix to hang in tough to be, and so we brought it. He was all gung ho about it, and anything you asked him, he would do it. Boy, I tell you something though, that little dude he's a mean little joker, dude. I saw him. He beat the stew out of New York Gangster one night down there.
Oh, really?
He beat the fire out of him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You want to hear the story, or do we have time?
Of course we do. We want to hear that.
Absolutely, we do.
All right, so JP had left. He went to Saul. So it was just me and JC Crow as hanging tough. And so they put the belts on all this. And they was having trouble with belts. So of getting belts, and people would leave, whoever owned it would leave. So JC went out and bought some belts. And they wasn't the best, but they were nice for what he paid for them. They were really nice for what they paid for them. Yeah. And he got a really good deal on them, custom belts. So we started using them. And like the first week, we dropped the straps to Damian Payne and New York Gangster. No big deal, That's part, So, no big deal. We did our thing, went to back. Well, come to find out, New York Gangster threw the belt down and broke one of the plates.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And I'm not sure. I don't know if he denied it. I think JC asked it. Well, I think it was my wife stooged it off to me, and I told JC. Yeah, my wife stooged it off. We were dating at the time. She's my wife now. She stooged it off to me that he threw it down because we was like, this plate's broke. What happened? She told me. I told JC, and he just bought them. He was his favorite. He didn't ask Tony for a penny. He did it to help be a team player, help out the promotion.
Sure.
He throws it down personally. And I think he confronted him. I think he lied about it. So we worked him the next week, and JC was hot, dude. He was so mad. He took his fist and just taped it up, man. It was hard as a rock.
Oh my God.
And so I told him, I said, well, just let me know when you're going to do it. I said, it's just between you and him. I have nothing to do with it. I'll make sure Damien stays out of it.
Yeah.
So we're doing the match. And next thing I know, I look out. He gives me the Iggy. He throws New York Gangster out of the ring. I look. He's got him. He's on the floor. He's on top of him, straddling. New York Gangster had long hair, and he took it and wrapped like around his hands. His hair wrapped around, so he couldn't get over. He had that tight fist. It was just coming down just straight. 12 to 6 straight down right in his head. Just bam.
Oh my gosh.
You could hear it in that building.
Smack
and Damien was like, and Damien kept going, what's going on over there? I said, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He said, no, what's going on? I said, stay out of it. And of course he wouldn't. So I throw him back in the ring, and he goes to try to. I grab him, and dude, I Yokozuna him, man, right? I told him, I said, stay down. It's not between us.
Right.
And he just beat the stew out of him. So I let Damien up, and Damien was stupid enough. He'd come charging. JC he got up off from Gangster. So Damien runs at him, and he just judo throws him right into the chairs. I was like, oh, you stay out of it.
Yeah.
And then Damien's dad got up. He starts yelling. I told him, I said, my wife laughs about this to this day, and she'll repeat it all the time. I look at her and said, sit out, old man, or I'll stretch you like bubble gum. It just got crazy. But yeah, so Yeah, so JC, yeah, he's my little brother. I love him to death. Such a good dude, out of the ring, out of the business. Do anything for you. Just a genuine good dude.
That's awesome. That's a great story, too. Yeah, I didn't get to know him too well, but any interaction I ever had with him was always cool, for sure. And, of course, when you have somebody like Plunkett introducing me to you guys, obviously that's a bit of a voucher, so it's not going to be an issue. But the next name I have, and I would love to know where this guy is and where he ended up, because he helped me out so much in my early days of working for Porter. And this was probably, a few years after you got to wrestle him and work with him, but his name's Steve-O.
Man, I have no idea.
Yeah.
He just kind of vanished,
Yeah.
Do you have like somebody else got a normal life and
hopefully,
hopefully, and just living it and staying away from this chaotic business.
Yeah.
Living like a normal person.
Do you have anything to say about old Steve-O?
I didn't work with him much.
Yeah.
He came in. I met him. He showed up with Mike.
Okay.
He was a friend of his. Well, let me go back. I think actually, for somebody, I think he knew Ben Jordan somehow. I think.
Okay.
And I think I met him one time. He came with Ben Jordan to a show.
Gotcha.
And then I'm talking years later, he was hanging out with Mike. Mike brought him to a show in Old Hickory, and he did a ring announcer, and that's how he got started in the business of ring announcing. And then I probably didn't see, he started doing it. I think he started working for Porter as a ring announcing, and then he started working. I probably saw him I think I maybe worked him one time.
Yeah.
At State. I think we might have worked him. He was toward the end when he started actually working. So I didn't have a lot of interactions with him, not many at all.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say, hey, he's a good dude. Hey, he was horrible. He's a lousy human being. I can't say anything because I wasn't around him enough,
Right, of course. Yeah, and that makes sense. When I came out there, I'd worked some shows in Virginia and North Carolina with my mentor, Kenny Steele, who had trained me enough to know enough to be a manager, and Steve-O actually helped me out with some stuff, especially as far as figuring out better bumps or better ways to take a bump that looked better for a manager. Steve-O was a great guy. Steve-O, it was funny, one night he was really impressed that I stood up for myself with somebody that I don't really want to say their name, but essentially they were probably easily 280, 290, and I was going to catch them on the outside of the ring, and I'm a manager, and I was probably 185 at the time. I'm 6'1", but still, and he comes out and I catch most of him, but his knee hits the apron and he's selling his knee in the back, acting like he's all hurt. And he was talking about guys being untrained. They shouldn't be doing it. And I stood up to him and he said, "Oh, I wasn't talking about you, man. I wasn't talking about you." And of course he was talking about me, but it's funny. Yeah. Anyway, what was that?
What?
What'd you say?
Douglas?
No, not Big Bully. No, he was, you would know who this guy is, but I'm not going to say his name right now.
That's cool. I got you.
Yeah. So anyway, that was just, Steve-O came to me and he was like, "Hey man, that's how you got to do it. Don't let people," because he was clearly trying to insinuate you were doing something. So anyway, go ahead, Jared. You got the next one.
You mentioned him a little bit earlier, and he's just me and Jimmy were big Smoky Mountain fans back in the day, so we got to see him a lot. It was Tracy Smothers.
Oh man, what do you say about Tracy Smothers? I mean,
right.
Oh my gosh, Tracy. Wow. First time I worked Tracy was in the fall of '92 for Chris, and I didn't see him until probably a year later. He remembered me.
Yeah.
Always give him advice, trying to help you, never downing you.
Right.
Just better you. I remember one time we was working, Mo and Mabel were on a show in Lebanon, Tennessee, and there's probably 15 people out there. I worked on the match, and I come back there, and I was just getting undressed, and Tracy goes, "Hey, you want to have some fun?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess." Well, he's like, "Ain't nobody out there, so let's go have some fun. Come out there with me." I was like, "All right." And just, I hadn't been in business. I mean, I've been in business about 3-4 years, but still, he was still up there.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh man, and so I was like honored, and every time I'd go maybe a year without seeing Tracy. He works everywhere.
Sure.
And I'd go like a year before I'd see him, and you see him, he's like, hey, what's going on? How you been doing? He just asked everything about me. I'm like, he treated everybody on the same level.
Oh, he was great. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, I think it's like 03, 04. So I was in Columbia working, and I was leaving, and I was going to my truck. I was putting my bag in my truck, and he came and said, Quinton, I don't know how you do it, man. You fly around like a luchador out there. I've watched you match. You still doing it, brother. I was like, he said, man, that drop kick insecurity. He said, man, it's looking good. So he's still doing it. And it's like, he didn't have to come up and say anything to me. He could just walk up and say, hey, see you later, But no, right. I mean, he was so high up, but he saw himself as everybody's level.
Yeah.
He would help, no matter who you were.
Right.
He would help you.
Yeah. Because it's funny, one night at Saw, this was before it was the NWA Saw. I don't even know if Kroll was there yet. He might have just been around. And it was probably about 15 people out there. He looks out to the crowd, and in the locker room, he says, well, boys, if they right, we can take them.
Yeah, Tracy was full of sayings.
Yes. Do you have one you can remember?
My favorite, I know them all, but my favorite one of Tracy is, it's a battle. I'm talking about life. It's a battle. I was going, it's all right. It's a battle. Another one, the first one I ever heard, I'll give you one more. It's the first one I ever heard him say. I heard him, he was talking over there, I think that been Chevville. He was going, I can't remember who he was working. He's like, yeah, I said, I figured out, we'll just, we'll start out slow, and we'll just taper off.
Taper off from there. I love it.
And that's the first one I heard. But I heard a million of it. The battle, it's a battle. That's my favorite.
So, what's the sad thing about Tracy is I managed him 2 times, and I had a chance to manage him a 3rd time. And we were at NWA Saw, and I was managing the NWA Tag Team Champions at the time, Tyson Dean and Andy Anderson. And I was going to do a run in and screw over Eric Andrews that night to manage Rob Conway. And essentially the somewhat co-booker, who will go unnamed at this moment, was, Kroll. This is after TJ was gone, and Kroll had kind of taken over promoter. This guy was booking. I go to him. I said, hey, and the second I get in the door, Tracy sees me. He says, hey, brother, I need you tonight. And I'm like, okay, awesome. I go talk to the booker. Booker says, no, man, you're out there twice already. Can't put you out there a 3rd time, which all totally makes sense, except NWA Saw was a TV show, and what they were doing was they were cutting 2 shows out of one event. So technically I was on TV twice with the tag team and Rob Conway, but then I would have been on the next week with Tracy Smothers. I didn't care about the TV. I didn't care about that part. What I cared about is, now that I look back, that was my last time seeing Tracy, my last opportunity to have managed him, and I couldn't do it. So it really made me sad to say, I don't think they're going to let me do it, brother. And so he went out there with another manager, again, a respected dude. I don't want to name names and make it sound bad, but the guy didn't do everything that Tracy liked, and I think Tracy was kind of hot about it. And anyway, I felt bad about that. It broke my heart to not be able to. I would have dropped Rob and the tag team to manage Tracy one more time. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Tracy's a great guy. Miss him. I knew Bobby Eaton a little better, but Bobby was on that same level of just awesome dudes, So go ahead, Jared. You got one more in you.
So a lot of our listeners know from the little commercial we ran on the podcast, this guy, but and you mentioned him earlier, but talk about Insane Shane.
Insane Shane, that's one of my old buddies. And we tagged for quite a while, about 2 years. We're called The Freak Show.
The Freak Show.
I started working in Gallatin, and slim pickings up there. In like 3 weeks, I didn't work the 3 bay faces that, I could have, would want to work.
Yeah.
So I brought him in and worked him for a couple of weeks. then we turned him. We tagged for like 2 years, I think. Almost 2.5 years, probably.
That's awesome.
He's a tag team partner. Really good dude. He started late. You know, he was probably mid-20s when he started.
Yeah.
Mid-late 20s, probably. He started off late. He started off young.
Right.
So I think he was like mid-20s probably when he started. But, you know, he had, you know, got brought in, old school mentality, you know, and just had a really good time those over 2 years we were a team. And, you know, he's still one of my buddies to this day, you know. Good dude. Yeah. He's in those figures now. Figures.
Yeah.
He's doing, now he seems to, that's, you know, his thing now is, but he seems like he's doing pretty good with it. So now, Shane, my old buddies, you know, just still in there. I can get in there.
It's funny because Shane and I and Brian Turner, we're all kind of got this weird clique about us kind of, you know, doing our thing together or, you know, in our own way. And so Brian, I did a commercial for Shane. And first of all, it took me forever for Shane to get the gumption to record the part for it because I wanted an extra commercial on our show. And I thought, man, we should promote your figures, you know. And he said, man, they don't want to hear my old country ass. And I said, no, man, just say these words or say what you want to say, and then I'll put music behind it. What kind of music do you like? And we'll play it. And that's what the commercial that everybody hears on the show now. And so it was about a month ago, I think Brian had been trying to get a hold of him because, you know, he's putting out a Tony Falk figure and stuff. Yeah. And so Brian, I don't think he knew that I was friends with Brian or something. But anyway, Brian wants the commercial. So Shane sends me a message. He says, hey, man, do you mind if I use that commercial for some other places? Like, can I send that commercial to other people? And I said, you can send it to anybody you want to, as long as it's not that dirty dog, Brian Turner. And he said, oh, okay, well, I'm glad I asked because that's who wanted the commercial. And I said, okay, I'm just ribbing you, man. That's fine. Totally. Yeah. But it was so funny because Shane was just like, okay, that's hilarious. But I got the Iggy from a Facebook post. So anyway, it was kind of funny to see. And old Shane believed me for a second. So I ribbed him a little bit there. But anyway, great guy. Got to give a shout out, Insane Shane. If you want a great action figure, you can even get customs made. But at the same time, he's got some great people out there. I know Reno Riggins. I know he's got a Randy Hogan coming out. I know there's a Tony Falk. I think there's a George South in the pipeline very soon. Just some great dudes. I'd love to see a Quinton Quarisma. I know there's a Hot Rod Biggs being planned. Anyway, we need to see some more figs. So anyway, just give a look out for Insane Shane. You can join the Insane Shane Facebook group. Definitely get a hold of him. Now, the next name on the name game list is simply Booking Notebook.
Oh, man. Who told y'all the stuff?
We got our sources, brother.
Jeremiah Plunkett or that Mike Jablonski.
I'll never name names.
Okay. So this was in 2009 in Laverne. Okay. I started working in Laverne because it was, 15, 20 minutes from the house. I don't like to go places, especially I was toward the end. Right. I didn't want to travel. Hour drive was too far from me. Right. I can get 30 minutes from the house. Yeah. It's just that point.
I get it.
So they were running Laverne, a guy named Kilo. So he brought me in. Well, actually, it wasn't him. Tim Brown, God rest his soul.
Oh.
He emailed me and said, hey, can you and JC come in and work baby? I said, well, I heard there's no money there. He's like, well, I can get you this. And I was like, well, that's under what I make normal. Sure. Not a lot under, but it's, about $10 less at some places.
Sure.
Some places actually the same amount, and it's only 20-minute drive. I said, sure, okay. So we did it and everything. Eventually he left. Him and Buzzy were doing a Nazi gimmick. They left. Then one night, it was probably end of 2008, the whole crew left, just walked out on them.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and so Kid was like, well, what do we do? And I was like, well, we want to get another crew in here, basically. And so I've got White Tiger to stay. I got Dyer and Flynn to stay. Pandora / Miss Rachel. Lee Cross. I got JP to come back. He was working somewhere else. I got him to come back.
Yeah.
So we got a big dude named Slade, big old jacked up dude. So we started getting a little. So we got a game of basic crew, and he had Jeff Daniels because something happened with Porter. It was right when he was running that Veritas streak. I think it was right before that, so he didn't have a Saturday. He was in between Saturdays. So we got Daniels and I think a couple other maybe. It was Daniels and Gary Valiant.
Yeah.
So that was basically, and so he said, will you book it? And I said, yeah, I'll book it. He said, the only thing is I want to book the heavyweight strap. You have the rest of the card. I said, okay. So for the first, like I said, everybody walked out. And this was one of those places where half your crowd's family of the wrestlers.
Right.
And friends. So they lost. So after they walked out, next 3 weeks, we were drawing like 20 people.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got everybody in there. I got storylines going and everything. Crowd started coming up. And I think, so that was December. By April, it was like 150 in this building. It was full.
Yeah.
We were getting crowds. So, like I said, I had the book. Porter started running back to Veritas. So Daniels left. Boogie only came in like once a night, and there was a couple of them that left. I think Tiger went back to Porter. Dyer Flynn, love Dyer a lot. I respect him for this. He stayed with me. He didn't go back to Porter. He said, I'm going to stay with you.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to push you. So I pushed Dyer. The thing was, we needed a heavyweight, and I told him, I said, to Kilo, I said, I know you're there. I said, we're going to push Lee Cross. Went to the heavyweight, the top heel. We need a top heel.
Yeah. He's
green, but he had a good attitude. He listened. He did whatever you want to say. He was decent in the ring. I said, we're going to push him. No. I'm telling this to Kilo in the dressing room. I said, and he goes, no. Mama wants Lee Cross to be the lightweight title. No. He said, well, he's skinny. I said, wait, half your dressing room skinny. You don't have any. We're going with what I said. He's got good weight. I said, we'll put him. I think it was Slade was the top heel. So Slade can carry. Slade's good enough now. He can carry people. I said he'll learn from Slade. He's getting good heat. I said it'll help him learn, and we got to establish a heel. And he hasn't. He's been down here. He's been working his way up. I said, we don't need to put it on somebody's beer every time. So we're building a new guy. Now, Mama wants him as the lightweight champion, and he's going to be like. I had my book. I had another book. I took it. I was so mad. I'm like, I got your crowd from 20 to 150. People are coming in. They're buying what I'm doing, and he's fighting me tooth and nail. So I just I was so mad. Because it's like it was pulling teeth at this place to get anything.
Right.
And I just took it. I slammed it down. I just started stomping it.
Yeah.
I was so mad. Then JP walks over and drops an elbow on it.
That's what I was going to ask.
Oh my goodness.
He knew I wasn't being trying to be funny. I was hot.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting no extra money for booking because they was letting me train. I had a guy that was training. They let me use his ring that was using the ring for free before the show to train this guy. So I didn't take any money for booking because there was no exchange.
Right.
And but just dealing with them, it's like, can't you see what my ideas are working? Why are you fighting me on everything? They fight me on everything. And I just lost. I just slammed. I just stomped. I was so mad. So ever since then, talking about me fighting the book in the dressing room.
That's awesome. Well, as we're kind of wrapping up here,
there's a name you didn't mention that I need to mention. It's up there with Pete. It's up there with Pete Cannon. It's Tommy Higgy.
Oh man, love Don.
When I went to Nashville, then Tommy brought me to Columbia. That's where I really learned. The dressing rooms in Columbia didn't connect. Everywhere else connected. You had to know what you were doing in Columbia.
Yeah.
I learned what I sat in the closet. There's a little closet we sat in that he'll sit in.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I watched how Tommy booked stuff, how he was getting guys over.
Yeah.
And making these babies. And I learned just by sitting there. And I give Tommy so much. Like I said, he's up there with Pete. Because if it wasn't for Pete getting me there, then Tommy taking me that next step, the big step forward of bringing me in. And I got to learn so much by bringing me in, putting me with people.
Yeah.
Me just being on the card to learn, sitting in the dressing room with him. Tommy, he gets, oh my gosh, his mind for the business. To get established babyface and get him over.
Yeah.
It's amazing how good that man is. And he doesn't get the recognition of just his mind. But get to sit in the dressing room with him, sitting in there with George Weingroff and then other guys that come through. And I'm just soaking it in. And that's it. So Tommy is up there with Pete on of me becoming me.
Yeah.
Never give him enough praise for what he did for me.
Dante and Mephisto has probably been, and I hate to say it because I'm picking favorites and nothing against you or anybody else, but the Dante and Mephisto episode is one of my favorites because of just the history those gentlemen have and honestly how incredibly humble they are.
Yeah.
It was so mind-blowing that I'm looking at their resume. I mean, how many other people can say they shared a gimmick with the Macho Man? You know what I'm saying? I mean, how many people could say? And, I was talking about Ben Jordan's resume earlier, but if you look at Tommy Hagee Dante's, his is just right there with it. He's worked everybody. He was on every show Jim Pride, Tommy Montana, you name it. And then he, doing the Dante gimmick, man. And again, to come off as humble as he is, it's just incredible. And I got to work with him some down in the CWA and then kind of meet him a few other places. And everywhere they went, man, the people were around him just trying to learn something from him. So, yeah. Thank you for bringing him up. And Dante, I apologize we didn't bring you up, brother. But, anyway, as we're getting low on time here, and again, Quinton, we definitely got to get you back on, brother. I know you're a historian, and I want to put that to the test. And I know there's so much more of your story we got to tell, but as things go and time frames and everything, we kind of try to keep it to a little bit of a schedule. But Jared always wraps us up with one question that I always like that he asks. Go ahead, Jared.
All right, Quinton. So this is maybe a tough question for you overall, but just what first in your mind, what is your favorite match you ever had in your career?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I mean, I had 18 years. So, I mean,
one flashes in your mind though. Come on.
I don't know, really, seriously. It's really hard to say. I mean, how
about you're most proud of then, or something like that?
Well, this one sticks out. It's a key point of the match was decent. I was so green, but the outcome of the match changed stuff. It was in '93. I was working for Chris. I was done. I was done with this. I was going to finish. He put me in a little program with Wolfie, because Wolfie had just took some time off from the Jarrett's.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was his decision, their decision, no matter where he come and worked a few weeks for Chris, and Chris put him there with me. So but I was done, because I wasn't, like I said, I was going nowhere. Everything, I was working with the same people. So they put me with Wolfie, kind of give me a little, but still, I knew it was over that night.
Right.
So, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So we had the match, good little match for me. And after it was over, I got in the back and I was like, maybe there is something for me in this. Maybe I should stick it out.
Yeah.
Because I was done. I was done. I was like, just finishing this up with this, and I'm going back to working guys that put headlocks and arm bars on the wrong side again. So I was done. That was going to be my last. And like I said, it wasn't the best. I've had way better matches, but at the time it was the best I had. And gave me a spark of maybe I should stay in this. You know, it was definitely the one that sticks out because of that. You know, you know, like I said, I don't, and you had so many. It's just, and you lose track over the years, and you know.
And that makes sense. I mean, you actually worked kind of in two periods where you're in the 90s where you could work 4 or 5 nights a week. And it was, you know, even though the territories were dying, that area you could work, as they say, the outlaw shows, and it was like its own territory in there, you know. And then of course you're you know, on into the 2000s and stuff where kind of the things had changed and the Attitude Era had happened. It was a great era. I tell you what, one thing that I wish, I was a musician, I've told this story a million times. The one thing I do regret is not starting in this business earlier, because I was already in my 30s as a manager, and you know, I wish I would have started sooner, but I was still trying to live those rock and roll dreams. So it is what it is. But anyway, Quinton, you know, we thank you so much for coming on. The one thing I've got to put over, and I'm going to give you, I think it's Plunky a hard time about this, but I am a huge fan of the Territorial Wrestling Review podcast with you and Plunky, man. So when are we going to hear some new stuff, and tell everybody about that one?
Man, it's something that we come up with, and I love doing it. I mean, it's so fun. Yeah. You know, I'm ready to start it back anytime. You know, he's got a busy schedule, so it's just, you know, we just put it on the back burner, but I'm ready to light that burner up anytime. It ball's in his court, so if you can talk to him.
I already have about it. I've bugged him about it already.
You know, we were doing it every week, and you know, we did over 100 episodes every week, you know. I said, you know, we can scale it back a lot.
Sure.
You know, and you know, I talked to him on the way back from the reunion. So, man, we need to, you know, we scale it back at least. You know, we got to do it, get it back going. He said, well, I need to talk to you. I got some ideas, and you know, but he's so busy, you know. And then like the next week, he went to NWA for the weekend, so I hadn't had a chance to really talk. Yeah, I'm ready, man, because I love doing it because I don't do nothing. So, sure. You know, you know, it's, I don't know, I like doing it. It was fun. I want to redo it again.
I absolutely think y'all need to start doing it again. Get this, man. Okay. So basically this podcast started with the idea that my brother and I were just going to record our conversations essentially. Yeah. And then I started reaching out to people, and we got some guests on. And then we've talked earlier, Magnum TA and the like and stuff. But when it comes down to it, you know, I've pulled 100 every week, 100 episodes out of Wolfie D. and I'm not talking about I'm not going into Wolfie D's reputation of any kind of thing, but everybody knows that Wolfie D can sometimes get tired of something. And once he's tired of it, he's done with it. So, you know, some people were like, at episode 30, they were saying, well, man, this will be good while it lasts. Thank you for doing this and trying. And other people were saying it around 50. And then we got a year in, and now we're almost to 100 episodes last Monday. And now the show drops. Anyway, we had the Wild Boys on, and man, I tell you, it was just such a great opportunity. Hey, man, I got to take advantage of this. So I know what that weekly grind is like. So that is why Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling is a strict every other week show. So y'all should just do that, man. You know?
Yeah. I told him we can, you know, scale it back. I just want to get it going again. I've thought about doing it with somebody else, but it won't be the same. That's me and his thing. And it's just, I just got to keep wait. I just got to wait on him to start. But I'm ready. I'd ready to go do it tomorrow if he wanted to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I just love doing it. I love talking about wrestling. And older wrestling, you know, and just, you know, Plunkett, come on, buddy.
Come on, buddy. Yeah, we want to hear more, and y'all go check them out. They're available wherever you listen to podcasts. They're definitely on YouTube. Anywhere you want to listen to them, they're available. I highly recommend them, and I don't recommend a lot of podcasts because, honestly, I work on so many podcasts that I don't even get to listen to podcasts other than my own, and I do make a point to listen to y'all's when I can. So absolutely highly recommend it to anybody that enjoys good old-fashioned wrestling. But anyway, well, Quinton, Quinton, we thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, we'll do a crossover. We'll bring Plunky and you on together and do a little territorial wrestling crossover with Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, and we'll have some fun, or we'll just bring you on and tell more about your story or whatever. But we've got a list in front of us, but I wanted to make sure you got on it. And I just thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us and just being the awesome dude that you are, brother.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Like I said, I love talking about wrestling.
And you're good at it.
I appreciate it. Put me on here. It's, from bottom of my heart, I appreciate it, because, like I said, I don't think I was never nobody, but somebody takes any interest in what I did. I really do appreciate it.
Of course, brother. And you can say that about yourself, but nobody's going to believe it. We think you're somebody. So anyway, I appreciate you so much. So for Quinton Quarisma, for our co-host Jared Street, I'm Jimmy Street. We'll be right back after these messages to wrap things up with the Plastic Sheik on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
If you're a pro wrestling fan, there's something for everyone at the Cheap Heat TV Podcast Network. From the Pro Wrestling Discussion Show, Cheap Heat TV Live, to the interview show, the Jackson Interaction Podcast with the king of all wrestling media, Gene Jackson, to the silliness of the Whitey Jenkins Show, and the brand new Zip, Xander's Irresistible Podcast with Charles Anders. You can check them all out and much more over at cheapheattvlive.com.
If you're a fan of rock and music, I'd really appreciate it if you took a moment to check out my podcast. It's called the Decibel Geek Podcast. We've been doing it for about 10 years now. We talk about Kiss. We talk about Ozzy. We talk about Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and Metallica. We talk about all the legends from the 60s and on, up to brand new bands that you should be hearing about today that you're not going to hear on the radio. It's Decibel Geek. Wherever you find your podcasts, you'll find us there. If you love rock and roll, I can almost guarantee you're going to love my show.
Oh, man, Sheik, what'd you think about that? What a cool interview, right?
Man, I mean, I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. These guys, are just great for us. I mean, they're so open to answer our questions. They don't really hesitate, and they lead the interview sometimes themselves by just going on with their stories. There's so many times we have questions lined up, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask this question next, and we're like, nope, he just answered that. So it's so great how that goes, but it never fails with hardly any of them that they don't answer some of our questions without really even being asked. So
yeah, because it's, as an interviewer, as an interviewee, we need to try that one day. We need to be interviewed by somebody bring us on their podcast. But when it comes down to it, as the interviewer, you want the question to be you want to be able to explain the question enough that if they have a hard time answering it, but sometimes you want to be able to just say something like a word and let them just riff, let them go off. And that's why I love doing the name game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I brought it up and started it on the Wolfie D show, but it came over to here, and it feels fun to do it with the guys that we bring on, because like you say, it elicits a response that necessarily we don't ask for. We just say, hey, this, and they go. And one I think of that really did that very well immediately was Jeff Daniels. We would bring up a name and Jeff would just go, and it was hold up. But then
reel you back there a little bit.
Yeah, but then you think about it and you're like, no, let them tell their story how they want to. And, just so appreciative to all the people that have been on here. This is our 37th episode, and I'm very happy with the things that we're doing right now. And we've got some great guys coming up next. We've got Rick Reynolds. Some people know him as Forsaken. He was with Dante and Mephisto as Nightmare. Man, he's got some great stories. Just a big dude, man. He's like the size of like a Abyss or somebody, if you think about it. So yeah, Rick's a great guy. Can't wait to talk to him. Doug Markham, great referee, came in around the same time I did. In fact, when he got to Saw, I think was one of his first times being in Tennessee that I know of, and we'll find out more from him, but he ended up working for MLW, you know, and Doug's done a lot as a referee, and I can't wait. It'll be our first referee on the show, you know, so I'm excited about that element. But today's episode, Quinton, I learned a lot from Quinton, you know, the great story of how really one running session for Mark Gordy with Dutch Mantell turned into Quinton getting his foot in the business, and he never looked back. And I just love that. That's a great story, and it was so honest and so just real, and you know, I'm appreciative of that. It was hilarious, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this is just a note for any of our future guests that may be listening. If you're going to say, do you want to know the truth? We absolutely want to know the truth. So yeah. Because
Quinton would ask that. He'd be like, you want to know the truth? And it's like, yep, we do.
Yes, we
absolutely.
do.
lay it on us, brother. That's what we're here for. You know, man, you know, the Kroll episode has had a lot of response. Some people are saying that the Kroll episode is our best of all time because of the stories that Kroll had. And I told you, Kroll's one of those guys that knows where the bodies are buried. Let's just say that. And, you know, some people are saying that was our best of all time. And I'm happy with that. Shane's number one right now with a bullet. He went there fast. And, you know, Hot Rod's on his tail, though. And then, you know, poor Greg, everybody's gunning for Greg for third spot. But anyway, like we said, we're just blessed to have these guys on here. You know, it kind of all started with Jeremiah Plunkett. And then, you know, from then on.
We lost a little weight since then.
We lost about 350. Anyway, but we've had some great guests. Hammerjack, Chris Michaels, Cassidy Riley. Can't forget. That was a great interview with Cassidy. Such a great dude. He's doing awesome things in acting now. And, you know, just a lot of fun stuff with all these guys. Now, I will say this. They have agreed to it in principle, but no contracts have been signed. But Kroll and Jeremiah Plunky are going to come on, and we're going to let them discuss and talk about the Satoshi Kojima NWA struggle to get, you know, Plunky in a match with him for the title. And a lot of people don't know that full story. I don't know the full story. Plunky doesn't know the full story, but Kroll does. And I can't wait to have them two on together. And when we get that interview, it'll be kind of a free-form, open interview. Jared and I may not even talk, you know. I'm just going to hit record, and we are going to let them talk and tell that story. And it'll be probably like a special episode drop that'll drop outside of our normal every other Thursday schedule. But that'll be something that's going to be fun. I can't wait to have that happen. Yeah, don't know when it's going to come, but it'll be, you know, soon, hopefully, maybe August or something. But long story short, got to thank Quinton Quarisma. Got to thank you. Just a great episode today, and I'm very happy about that. So on a side note here, have you received the shipping notification from Powertown?
I got it the other day. I was kind of getting antsy because I saw people on Facebook posting their figs already.
Big
and I was like, I mean, my order number is like 1,400 something. It's like, so you figure either they started at 1,000 or they started at 1, and I'm at least in the top 1,500 orders. And I saw a guy talking about he ordered Magnum in December, 3 months after I ordered mine, and the guy had already got it. And I was like, what the crap?
Yeah.
But I did get it.
That's cool. All right. Well, hopefully soon. And when you do, we'll be posting pictures of the actual figures in their packaging. Correct?
And we'll give a little Sheik segment, kind of breaking them down, what my thoughts are, everything like that.
Okay, I love it. That sounds great. We'll have fun with that. But yeah,
can I give a brief Sheik segment?
Of course,
just a minute. I just need a minute. It's going to make you kind of jealous, I think.
Okay.
Action figure.
I won a eBay bid for a WWF LJN Warlord.
Oh, you son of my mom, man. Oh, that's awesome, dude.
It's in pretty good condition, but we're gonna I mean, it's not perfect, but if it was perfect, I would have to pay like
buku.
$8,000 or more, probably. So,
so half the amount of people that have listened to Shane Morton. Oh, anyway, yeah, that's amazing. Though that's amazing. You know, everybody knows we're big marks for the Powers of Pain and Road Warriors, Rock and Roll, Midnights, all that. But man, Warlord is one of those guys that one of these days I'm going to interview that dude. I don't know where it's going to be and what it's going to do, but I'm going to interview that guy, and I can't wait to have it happen. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Whether it's with me or whether it's Wolfie, it'll still be awesome.
Yeah, either way, it's got to happen. So I'm literally not stopping until I do that. You know, as you bring up the Wolfie show, I do want to say something. You know, last Monday, as this show drops, last Monday, we interviewed the Wild Boys, and they're a great tag team. They were actually going to be on this show, but due to scheduling and honestly wanting to get them on quicker.
And my vacation probably too.
Yeah, your 8-year vacation coming up. We wanted to go ahead and get them out. So Wolfie and I did that on the podcast with Wolfie. And yeah, man, those are great guys. Love those guys to death. Ben Jordan, dude, is like your best friend. I mean, I'm serious. I've been texting with him. And just look up his resume. Ben Jordan's resume is on par with anybody's in there. He was the global light heavyweight champion back when he was working with guys like Jerry Lynn and Sean Waltman. You know, Ben tells a great story on the Wolfie D podcast. Some of y'all may not have heard it, but, you know, he tells a great story about being there in WWE at the same time as Scott Taylor. And Scott's there, and they are basically on the same level. And in fact, they are tag teaming together, and Scotty is the one taking the pinfalls. So really, he had kind of become a little higher echelon of enhancement talent in WWE. And unfortunately, he has an accident. And after that, Scotty Too Hottie gets a big push and ends up. And so, you know, it's kind of sad, but he tells a story that he kind of feels like maybe it was coming a little more of a push for him. And unfortunately, his accident caused him to be out for a year, and he kind of lost that spot. So it's kind of that classic story of right place, right time. Steve Neely tells a great story about working Ming it was a 10-second match, literally, and he said he got paid the same as if it would have been a 30-minute match. So he was
even
fine
better
with
than
that. Yeah, he was fine with that. But yeah, man. Anyway, long story short, that was the 100th episode of the Wolfie D show. So Live and in Color with Wolfie D has been there for 100 episodes. So for those of you out there on our listener base, and I realize they do cross over quite a bit, and I'm thankful for that. You know, we thank you for sticking around with the Wolfie D show for 100 episodes. Thank you so much for listening to us for 37 episodes. Thank you so much for giving us your time. You know, thank you for just tuning in to listen to me and my brother talk about wrestling and talk to wrestlers. That's, you know, so important to us. But anyway, 100 episodes. Some say it couldn't be done, but I did it.
There we go, man. It's rolling good.
Yeah, man.
You do a great job, brother.
I thank you for saying that, brother. That means a lot. I do enjoy it in the product, and that the people enjoy it too. That's the important part. So y'all keep listening. The main important part is that y'all rate and review. If it's Spotify, if it's Apple, if it's anywhere, give us a rating. 5 stars if you can help us out with that. It means so much because it lets other people see us and think the same thing. And hopefully more people say, okay, that's a 5-star show. You know, tons of ratings. Means a lot. I know you can do it on Spotify. I know you can do it on Apple. Please, 5 stars if you can. If you want to, write a little review. Greatly appreciated. The other thing is on YouTube, guys. Y'all are following us, subscribing. It means the world to us. But go ahead and comment a little something on it. What are your thoughts on that? You know, click that subscribe button, hit that notification, whatever. But the big important part on YouTube is if you throw a little comment on there, tell us what you think, you know?
Yeah, the biggest things you can do for us on YouTube, if you see some of our content, like it. If you're not subscribed, obviously subscribe to it. And a comment, just say, awesome job, guys, or just something to comment on there, just a little comment. It gets us in the YouTube algorithm a little more, and it's usually going to be catered towards people that are going to like this stuff, that they just may not be seeing their stuff because their reach is not wide enough yet. So
yeah, exactly what Jared said. Jared is our YouTube guru. The Plastic Sheik knows the YouTube stuff better than any of us. So definitely appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate y'all for listening to us in any way that you do it. It means the world. Absolutely. I've got people on a list that can go till February if we want to do it. I promise you that. And some of these names are great people that you're going to have a great time listening to. Can't wait to get them interviewed, but unfortunately we can't do them all at once. So just be patient with us. We'll get them all done. And once we're done with that, I'm sure there'll be a whole new list, and I'm happy about that too. But when it comes down to it, we just really greatly appreciate y'all for listening to me and my brother talk about wrestling with all these great people. And, of course, we always are GMBMPW on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Obviously, go follow, support. We've already said that, but just sharing, that means the world to us when y'all share our stuff. Golly, can't thank you enough. Yeah. So anyway, with that being said, I'm not going to beat a horse. You got anything else before we go, Judd?
No, I'm just like you. I'm just thankful for the people that listen and keep tuning in. We're going to keep pumping out these interviews. And we'll get back to some topics sometime, but we're going to give these people their due on these interviews, and we're having a good time doing them. I hope the people are having a good time listening to them.
Yeah, and by the way, I can't believe I didn't mention this yet. We hit 25,000 downloads.
Oh, yeah! Give me hell yeah!
That's awesome.
I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. I'm serious because, I was expecting maybe, 30 people listen to us. You know what I mean? And that was my thought. Maybe we'll get a few people from the Wolfie D podcast if they want to hear me talk some more. But other than that, 25,000 downloads total. Now it's a little over that now, but I just recently posted it on our socials, and yeah, it's normally we don't go into specifics on numbers, but if you want to take 37 episodes and do the division on that, you can figure out probably the average. But some of the shows don't have as many listens as some of the others. But with that being said, 25,000 times somebody has listened to our show, and I'm just, blown away by that. So again, y'all are the best. We'll talk to you next week when we have the great Forsaken, Mr. Rick Reynolds, and then Jared gets to take his 17-month vacation. And you're going to Hawaii?
Aloha.
Aloha, brother. Yeah, well, go. Hey, I tell you what, man, you get over there and you'll never want to come back. And I would understand that because I love
they got internet there too, man.
Yeah, they got internet there too. See, exactly. Don't forget to pack your microphone. But anyway, hope you get a tan and hope you have a great time. And we will be here waiting for you when you get back. But once again, for Jared, the Plastic Sheik Street, I'm Jimmy Street, and we are Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. We'll see y'all next time.
Don't forget,
hang in tough.
Hang in tough.
Hang in tough.
With a tear in my eye. This is the greatest moment in my life. This has been a James Rock Street production.